reported on the rapes and robberies in New York City, and you told the rest of the world only about that, but you didn't tell them anything else about New York City, they, of course, then they'd think that's what they would think about New York City. So, you know, I've tried to, wherever I could, on my Facebook page and stuff, you know, dispel, you know, some of these negativities. But unfortunately, when the media, the major media in the U.S. kind of has spoon-fed for 30, 40 years, Pakistan's bad, Pakistan's bad, Pakistan's bad, in almost every way, and they're the whipping boy, and they're the scapegoat for everything, and India is good, and India is wonderful. And the way the reporting goes, you know, is that Pakistan is the scapegoat, which people enjoy beating up on, and people do not want to even listen to the positive. So if I do have a discussion with another white guy, it's if you're a football coach and you coach the New York Giants and you're trying to explain to a peewee football team, you know, some of the nuances of you know, expert football from, you know, at that pro level, and you're trying to talk to people. It's not that they're stupid. It's not about being stupid. It's about being so uninformed for so long and having biases built up that in order for me to talk to any one given person who has a bias against Pakistan, it would be like, you know, when you're doing therapy for chemotherapy, you don't just take one pill. It's a series over time, and it's a little painful, but then finally you get cured. Well, people don't have that kind of patience, but to understand Pakistan and why it's good and why it's wrong to think this way and why they're not all terrorists and why you shouldn't be biased against them, it would take the investment of somebody of time to unravel all that they have built up. So it's always very tough to talk to people about Pakistan because the starting point is so difficult. And but it has to be, I think somehow it has to be done. It's a conversation, the conversations that need to be had, because perception, when perception becomes the reality and it's not anywhere close to reality, then that becomes a reality and then becomes very dangerous for all of us. You know, so I was also a musician that before I did disaster relief work, 9/11 here in New York started my disaster relief career. I was signed by Sid Bernstein, who brought the Beatles and Stones to America. He was retired, but he liked my music, and he signed me and had a showcase set up at CBGB's nightclub down in Lower Manhattan. But that was going to be on the 12th of September. So I woke up here in Queens at the Pan American Hotel. And I was staying there, and I was getting ready to rehearse for the show the next night.
What do you play?
I play guitar and sing. So I looked out the window of our hotel and I saw the towers on fire. Al Sirowitz, my manager, with Sid Bernstein, called me up on the phone and he said some terrible thing has happened, you know. And so I turned on the TV and I, you know, looking out the window, and about the same time the second plane hit, and you know, so I actually took all my guitars and amplifiers out of my van and went down to Ground Zero and worked there for a week and realized I was good at disaster relief, and my life really changed during that week. So I kind of gravitated more towards disaster relief, and the pursuit of fame and fortune that I was doing before seemed trivial anymore. So I just didn't even really want it anymore. So I went after this humanitarian work after that.
That's a good job.
थोड़ा सा दिल दिल पाकिस्तान गुनगुना.
You have to sing for us.
Well, I actually have the guitar in the trunk, so later I can do it.
Okay.
With the guitar.
Bring the guitar. I will bring you guitar. We like to hear it.
All right, that's awesome.
I was sitting there, I was like, I wish we were streaming this. I'm like, oh wait, Rayhan's here.
Dr. Saab, why don't you introduce yourself, because I didn't do justice with you.
No, you're going on the right track right there. My name is Dr. Gholam Mujtaba. I'm originally from Pakistan, Karachi, and had been here in this country for the last 36 years, more than half of my life in this country. Well, as you said, Todd, that you have experienced Pakistan for the last 11 years, and you have an understanding about Pakistan more than a lot of people in this country. I experienced both the societies. Pakistan, when I left Pakistan, I was thrice elected student leader of Pakistan, at the national level, which is very rare. I got elected to the University Students' Union, only 2 universities at that time, Karachi and Punjab, in 3 consecutive elections, which is very hard to do.
I saw that. I read about you on the Facebook today.
You were a governor of a province?
No. Then I was here, and there was some military operation in 1992. So I became an advisor to the Chief Minister Sen, one of the most powerful advisors. As a minister, I served there for 2 years. So as a student leader, as a leader of the teachers community, as a professor, and the chairman of the Professors Association of Pakistan, and in the government, I have all those 3 experiences. So that gives me a lot of leverage. And for the last 36 years, ever since I became U.S. citizen, I'm a member of the Republican National Committee, in the Central Advisory Board of the Republican National Committee. And
oh God.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with Donald Trump. You poor man. I feel for you.
Here, disaster relief begins at home.
Do you know Suhail Khan?
Suhail Khan?
Yeah.
I know.
We'll talk offline.
We'll talk on that. But Obama administration wanted to put me into the advisory board in 2013 because of the sequestration. It did not work out. There were 3-4 people, including myself, on the regional policy in the Middle East. And what we are doing, we have been doing, is to build up a relationship or stop the damage in the relationship between Pakistan and the United States. There was a dharna sit-in by one of the political parties of Pakistan in 2013, Imran Khan, and that put our troops on harm's way because the supply line was closed. And Daniel Inouye, who was the chairman of the Appropriations Committee of the Senate, he died, he passed away. He was senator from Hawaii.
Yeah, I remember that.
The second longest serving senator in the US history. I myself, with Joanne Herring, General Bradley, we met him and we convinced him to stop the resolution that was being put in the Senate to put sanctions on Pakistan. So we were the pioneers who saved Pakistan at that time in 2013. That is on record.
It's a really good thing that the U.S. government didn't do that. That would have been a huge mistake.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have
It
been
was
the right
almost
thing to
done.
do.
It was just done by us privately. We tried to influence, and we did succeed in that.
Excellent.
There were other areas of interest as well, and we have been working closely with the bodies here, which means the Pentagon, the State Department. We restored the supply line of our troops in Afghanistan. We worked with General McChrystal on that, General Kiani at that time. But the major impediment that we feel in the US and Pakistan relationship is from the Pakistani side, not from the American side.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What was that again?
From the Pakistani side,
But
from the Pakistani establishment.
What's the issue?
What is it?
The major impediment that we face in this relationship is from the other side, not from this side.
The major impediment.
Like what you mentioned here about the perceptions, certainly there are perceptions amongst the public, but the perceptions in the establishment of the United States, which means the State Department, the Pentagon, they are very clear about Pakistan. So it's two different perceptions, the perceptions of the establishment and the public perceptions.
Right.
What you're doing is you're doing on the public perceptions, which is excellent, But what we see with the establishment of Pakistan and the establishment of the US, I can give you just one example. One of my friends, without naming anyone, he's advisor to one of the secretaries in the government here. He went on a delegation to Pakistan, and the United States wanted to help Pakistan on certain areas in building power and dams and all those things. And one of the Pakistani guys after the meeting called him and said, "What is our commission on that?" And he was embarrassed by that because we don't deal like that.
This guy wanted to cut.
Yes.
So they're still.
And then he said to the secretary. He said to the secretary that next time you go to Pakistan, don't take me. I don't want to go there. So these are the impediments. People who are favorable to Pakistan, they are given troubles by the Pakistani government itself, and we know those things because of corruption, because of no transparency in Pakistani system.
There's also a major trust deficit between the two countries, and some of it is the U.S.'s fault. And when India builds the bomb, and then Pakistan obviously is going to build the bomb to counter the Indian nuclear threat, and we sanction Pakistan, but India, who was the friend of Russia during the Cold War, we didn't sanction them because they have a huge economy and we wanted to do business with them. Mm-hmm. This looks hypocritical to Pakistanis. So they got sanctioned. So from every time Pakistan has taken a strategic hit or been sided with the U.S., they've been left at the altar. So they feel like the next time comes around, they're going to get the same thing, that they can't trust the Americans. Pakistan's the only country that got threatened with a nuclear strike in Peshawar. There's no other ally of America that got threatened with a nuclear strike because of the U-2 spy plane flights that originate from Pakistan. So it goes back many, many years. And I agree with you that in more recent times, these problems have been caused by Pakistani government. But there's a history there.
No, recently in Afghanistan, the Afghan government is just in Kabul. But Indian consulates are more than 6 cities in Afghanistan. What their consulates are doing over there? They're recruiting terrorists, send them Pakistan.
They just caught an Indian agent in Balochistan.
Recently, and nobody asked India to stop that.
Well, here's what I think an even bigger issue is. So you bring up the Russian issue, right? And right now we're dealing with, I think, what I would call a layered Cold War. We've got a layered Cold War in between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Then we've got a Cold War going on between India and Pakistan. And that challenge there is India has to retrofit their entire military. So they've got RFPs out everywhere.
You have tagged my Facebook page as well? It's there? It's going live?
But the challenge that we have is that
it will be huge because my following is 650,000. The highest in Pakistan. The highest in Pakistan.
These guys are buying Russian jets. They are buying Russian guns. They are buying Russian armaments. Yet what we have is Obama, and with his whole Obama doctrine of state kind of like Socratic thinking. It's like he's waiting too long to make decisions on this kind of stuff. I mean, we're losing out on many sides inside of this fight, and I think Pakistan it's a detriment of Pakistan, but I think it's also a detriment of American safety, because at the end of the day, we need a safe Pakistan because it's like playing Risk. It's like in the center of the board.
We have to understand one thing. Let's go to the economic dynamics of the region. United States has given Pakistan aid of $68 billion in the last 68 years. It's military and civilian both. It's a huge aid. Now let's do the figures. The Pakistani Americans sending revenues to Pakistan is $3.5 billion each
every year.
Those are remittances back.
Just hold on to this.
Okay.
This is through banking channel.
Yep.
Right. Now there is a gray channel, and that gray channel includes you're traveling to Pakistan. He's traveling to Pakistan. He has $5,000 cash in his pocket. 10,000 is the limit. You can carry 5,000. You can carry 7,000. And each passenger going to Pakistan carries cash as well.
Spends money, gives to the poor, whatever.
You know that.
Yeah.
So 500 passengers in a flight with 5,000 average. How much is that money?
It's really 5,000 average.
And how many flights going out of the United States to Pakistan each day? The Emirates Airlines has 2 flights. The Qatar has 2 flights. Etihad has 2 flights. And there are Turkish Airlines and other airlines. So if you assume 10 flights from the US, it's 5,000 passengers times $5,000.
I mean, we would probably average that.
We are not going into the figures, but to our understanding, the gray channel and the banking channel makes up a total of $7 to $8 billion going out of the US to Pakistan by the Pakistani Americans. Now let us talk of the US aid to Pakistan. US aid to Pakistan averages today $2 billion military and civilian aid each year. That makes it a total of $10 billion. Now Pakistan US trade is $2.3 billion positive, which means Pakistan is benefiting from the US $2.3 billion through exports. Is Pakistan benefiting this much amount of money from any other country in the world? No. What is the trade balance between Pakistan and China? Pakistan and China trade balance is minus $7.8 billion each year. Pakistan is giving China $7.8 billion and Pakistan is receiving $2.3 billion from the US. This makes a total of $13 billion. Now $13 billion are the revenues generated by Pakistan from the United States. What is the total annual budget of Pakistan? Pakistan's total annual budget is $45 billion. So the Americans or the Pakistani Americans or the American government is providing 20% of Pakistan's annual budget. What America is getting in return?
Well, the problem is that money...
No. Let's stay there. What Pakistan is, we have a perception in Pakistan where 80% of Pakistanis consider America as something that is against their interest. They are anti-American, 80% Pakistanis. Or 70% Pakistanis are anti-American. Yet, America is supporting 20% of Pakistan's budget. This means
but that money doesn't trickle down to the people.
There is something wrong.
But the
There is
remittances
something
do.
wrong.
The something wrong goes back to what I said originally.
A lot of it gets stuck
Now
at the
let's come.
military
What is
level.
wrong? What is wrong? There is something wrong. You're supporting them, and they're against you. What is wrong?
But see, part of the problem is that money doesn't trickle down to the people. Like it gets stuck at the military.
Yes, that is one thing. That is one thing that is wrong. That is one thing that
They
is
don't
wrong.
see the.
Yes,
they don't
the
see the impact of it.
the Pakistanis do not see the visibility
Right.
of what we are saying.
Right.
But that goes
If
back
you
to
ask them that what America is doing for you, they would not know.
Right, they don't know.
The jeep on which the Prime Minister of Pakistan was on Gwadar port to support China-Pakistan roadway, that was an American aid.
Right, and instead all they see is the
But
drones and the negatives of it.
you oversee those things. What America is doing, Pakistan needs a strong U.S.-Pakistan relationship for their interest, for the interest of the region, and for the global interest. Pakistan needs to get support from the U.S. Pakistan, if do not get support from the U.S., things will change. How much money is China providing humanitarian aid or aid to Pakistan? Can you tell me that?
Nothing.
Maybe nominal, $1 billion?
No, nothing.
Zero.
Nothing. China gives aid only to North Korea. 80% of Chinese aid goes to North Korea. No other country at all. It is United States which considers Pakistan, Egypt, and Israel as the top recipient of US aid. Pakistan is one of the 3 top recipients of US
$2 billion
aid.
is right underneath that.
Why there is a poor perception about the United States and Pakistan? We have to work on that.
But
We have to build up an awareness.
Brother, that goes back to what I said originally, is that none of what is going on, none of this is articulated in Urdu. How much of this information is articulated in Urdu? Because if you have a channel that is going back and forth, but there is zero communication, it's not talking about...
The communication gap, that is one point. Communication is an effective tool in global culture of the 21st century. And what you said about SNS, the social network services, is very important today in management sciences.
We just need to get some
If
of
you
the
don't have
basic stuff
SNS,
translated.
if you don't have SNS like Facebook, now people learn through our debate. They will learn now. There will be thousands of Pakistanis, at least 650,000 my followers on the Facebook.
Yep.
If they will not listen now, they will listen after 2 hours. Go to what we discussed today. See, we have to create an awareness, both not only in American society, for our people to understand that something is going wrong here. Your perceptions are wrong about Pakistan, which you mentioned that, which you elaborated. There's also perception that is wrong over there. We have to bridge the gaps.
That's exactly true. There is one thing, though, coming from somebody who's spent a lot of time in villages from the Thar Desert and interior Sindh and interior Punjab to all over KPK and Azad Kashmir. The unfortunate reality is that if you go to most of these villages, you will not see the first evidence of all this money, this 20% of money. You look around and you will not see that there is visible projects and visible things on the ground, brick and mortar, things that have been made by America in a large way. You might see a little bit over here. Maybe you'll see a bag of wheat with USAID on it. But the Pakistani people as a people, most of the poor, are looking around saying, the relationship between the US and Pakistan for the last 60 years, what has it changed about my country except brought it war and destruction? What have I seen that has been good about this relationship that has helped me and my family and my village? And the answer to that, unfortunately, is it hasn't helped them very much.
There is one thing I tell you. I was sitting with few generals in Pakistan, serving generals.
Gee, sir.
And one of them asked me that you still have perceptions, pro-American perceptions? I said, why not? I'm a Pakistani American. I said, what's wrong? He said, what did America do in the 1971 war? Most Pakistanis today think that it is America that deceived Pakistan, and that's how Pakistan lost the war with India and Bangladesh was made independent. The perception is 100% wrong. Right. If you go to Google search, it's so simple, and find the documents of Nixon's Oval Office, you will see that Nixon was frustrated why Pakistan surrendered. The United States sent the 7th Fleet to the Bay of Bengal. Pakistanis have perception that the US did not send anything to support Pakistan. Yes, US did.
Right. Well, unfortunately, also
and through the Freedom of Information Act, Anderson's paper are available on the internet. You can see that the US 7th Fleet went to Bay of Bengal. They were challenged by the Soviet Union ships and the Indian ships that if you move further, there will be a nuclear war. And those Soviet ships were loaded with nuclear weapons. This is on record. And then it was stopped, and Nixon said to Henry Kissinger to call Beijing and tell the leaders, Chinese leaders, to start skirmishes at Tibet in order to engage Indian troops with China just for a few hours. And that would relieve the pressure on the Pakistani troops in East Pakistan. China refused that. Pakistani perception today is that China is the best friend or the tested friend of Pakistanis. May I ask them that where is that relationship? Where was that in 1971? Why did China refuse? How many Pakistani know these facts? That it was America that supported them. Nixon was frustrated and he asked Kissinger, it is on record, he asked Kissinger, why did Pakistan surrender? These are the facts.
No,
why Pakistanis are not told? Why Pakistanis are not told?
I agree with the doctor.
Isn't related.
There is a perception in Pakistan. There is a perception in Pakistan that America is against their interest. I was talking to one of Pakistani lobbyists, the head of the Pakistani lobby in Washington D.C. I was told to visit there, and I talked to him about Pakistan-US relationship. He said that it is better to have Pakistan-China relationship. What the hell is he doing in Washington D.C.? Is he promoting China in Washington D.C. or is he talking to our senators and congressmen to improve relationship with Pakistan and the U.S.? There is something wrong in this system. There is something wrong going on here, in both sides of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it is only Pakistan. It is here as well. We are responsible for certain things.
There is a point. There is a point I will mention.
Pakistani Americans, friends of Pakistan, have to play a bigger role. I have met leaders here. Senators, Congressman Michael McCall is a friend of mine. He's chairman of the Homeland Security Committee. Sheila Jackson is a friend. Al Green is a friend.
Well,
At least we have 80 members of the Congress who are with us.
So, brother,
But
Is
can I-
Pakistan
I wanna ask
music?
a-
Can
I wanna ask a
Nila
question.
speak and I have a comment?
So, but because I think one thing that we don't talk about that has greatly hurt relations between Pakistan and the U.S. is the drone warfare and the drone campaign, because the amount of civilians that have been killed, and when Pakistanis saw this on a regular, consistent
Is that
basis.
a question? Is that a question?
Well, I want to see if you agree with this too.
No,
but
no,
that
I don't
obviously
agree. I
has
don't agree.
Totally
No, I don't.
hurt the relationship
Not
between
at all.
the two countries.
Not at all. I have said if you go to YouTube and listen to my speeches in Pakistan, drone attacks were approved by the Pakistani government.
Right, they were, but I'm talking
The
about
ISI
people.
knew
Okay, but
the
brother,
intelligence
brother,
and
that's not the
like
issue.
that.
The issue goes back to what I talked about originally: is brand perception of Jews, brand perception of Muslims. It's optics. The Pakistani populace is looking at the optics of their own media, saying, "America killed this many children. America did this. America did that." It matters less that ISI had actually authorized this stuff. It matters about the optics. And the question I have is, what do we do together, okay, to start changing these optics? Because because it has nothing to do
Yes.
with reality.
Right.
It has to do with perception.
Course, I give you the answer. No, just 1 second. I give you the answer. We have to understand the other side of the picture as well. Pakistan has been associated with the United States, like you said, the U-2 missions. You said
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Yeah, U-2
The U-2 spy planes.
spy planes. Pakistan
And
supported right there.
Khrushchev
Yeah.
threatened to
Yes.
strike Pakistan
Exactly.
with a nuclear war.
Exactly. Pakistan brought Sino-American relationship. This is by
Exactly.
virtue of Pakistan.
Yeah.
Pakistan was involved in Afghanistan. Today, United States is the superpower on earth. It is by virtue of the efforts of the CIA and ISI, joint efforts in Afghanistan. Had there been no joint efforts in Afghanistan, no Mujahideen in Afghanistan, through Pakistan Army, through training by the Pakistanis, we would not have been the sole superpower on earth today. So what we are today, our public have to understand.
Yeah,
that
they
it is-
don't. They don't understand this. At all.
I'm with you.
It's too complex.
So we have to understand that it is by virtue of the efforts and sacrifices of the people of Pakistan where we are here today. Now, the question is, Pakistan has given sacrifices in Afghanistan war. Pakistan has given sacrifices in each and every aspect where America has to build up its hegemony. Pakistan's sacrifices are there. So Pakistan's sacrifices cannot be ignored. That's one thing. Second thing, Pakistan has had been into wars after wars in the last 68 years since her independence. There had been all wars against Pakistan, and why? Pakistan was the only supporter of the United States hegemony in the region, and Pakistan faced that war, rightly you said, by the Indians, and Indians were supported by the Russians and the Soviet Union. So we have to understand that Pakistan faced the brunt of wars because of the Indians and the Russians and the Soviet Union, who were our foes. It was because of our relationship with Pakistan, Pakistan has had gone into that war and has faced the sacrifices. No country in the history, in the global history, has faced consecutive wars in 68 years. It is Pakistan that has faced 68 years of wars and it still survives today.
Well, there's a clear
Forget the